Welcome in to episode 5 of the Hobby Hotline podcast, live this morning on YouTube. Our host this week at Mike Summer, the Mike Summer, at the Mike Summer, from the Plax Pack Hero Sports Card Minute, Stefan Loeffler, Junk Wax Twins, and Tim Schepler at Big Shep 79 from About the Cards podcast. We're the hobby's only live call-in show. We're live every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 East Coast.
10 Central.
On YouTube, Periscope, Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at Hobby Hotline, and we're available as a podcast everywhere. We had a little technical difficulties this morning. We're going to get going here, though. Should be broadcasting somewhere at some point in time. I don't know what is going on this morning with Restream.
We're definitely live on Periscope, though. That's coming through A-OK. So.
Looks like we're live on Google now.
Are we live there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we are.
Outstanding. Well, hop in the chat and hang out with us.
Indeed.
We're live on YouTube. I don't see it there. Might just
send you the link.
Yeah. I don't know what is going on because it still says on my side. I'll try to refresh. I want to make sure because I got to get in the chat to drop the line so people can call in and hang out with us.
I think, people are confirming live on YouTube.
Okay, sweet. Well, welcome and hang out with us today. And we have a bunch of topics hopping in, but if you want to do a different topic, then that's fine. Let us know. Hit us up. And basically, you have a smartphone or a computer that has a camera, a mic. That's all we really need to be able to, to enjoy the show and have you hop in. So let me get that out to you. But I've been on in a couple weeks, fellas. I know Mike was on last week. Steph's been on. I think I was on week 1. What do you guys think of the show so far?
It's been fun. Listening to everyone hop on and give their different perspectives on what, with our show, Tim, we prepare, at least a day out to say, hey, these are what we're going to be talking about. So we at least kind of have an idea. But watching, the different hosts get popped on with random questions, you have no idea what's coming. Necessarily. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's been great to hear directly from some of the listeners, both that have called in so far and participated that way. But I've also heard from people outside of the live show that have reached out via email or Twitter and talked about some of the things that we've covered on the show and followed up with that, and even sent some additional questions. And I think we might even hit on a couple of those later on today. So it's been a blast to be a part of so far, and it's been a lot of fun getting together with all of the hobby minds that we've got as part of the show so far. It's been fun.
Yeah, no, I really have enjoyed it listening to the show.
You good?
Tim?
Yeah, sorry about that, fellas. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was going through. I'm trying to make sure that we're logged in. I can send out everything. So yeah, no, it's great to have everybody together, hanging out with us, and so we're gonna get going this morning. I just want to make sure I can get this out to Periscope so that everybody from there can check in and join us and say what's up. So there we go. Sorry about that. They dropped in. So let's get to it today. The Hobby Hotline Week 5, Episode 5, the Investors Corner. I did that to just light a few fires after what's been going on. If you're on Twitter at all, to check it out. But so there was an interesting filing that came out this week. Paul Lesko tweeted out, Topps filed a trademark protection for the phrase "one of one" for trading cards, etc. And this is a series of tweets he had that popped yesterday. And I'm going to read through them and then, go about commenting them if anybody has anything to say. But there is no way Topps gets a trademark registration for one-of-one trading cards. Maybe for other goods or services, but no way for trading cards. It's too commonly used in the definition of generic and overused description of cards. Hell, I just did a search on eBay, and there was just under 150,000 cards with one-of-one in the description. Plus, if Topps should somehow trick the trademark office into publishing the application, its competitors would need to oppose, as they could not let Topps control the one-of-one because it would block others from using one-of-one on trading cards. Plus, the phrase one-of-one or numbering of one-of-one is functional, and you could not obtain a trademark registration on something that is functional. unless the filing is solely to prevent eBay sellers from calling every freaking card in the world one of one. Look, it's number 23 of 5,000, and that's a player's number, so it's a true one of one. If so, I apologize, and this filing is a thing of beauty. The last tweet makes it awesome.
And you would think that if anyone were to file this suit, it would be Panini, because that's actually how they indicate what is and what isn't their one of one series. They literally write one of one on the card, not Topps where it's just 1/1.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. Like, why as a company would you do that? It just makes yourself look, I don't know. It's not a good look for Topps to try to corner the market on a well-known phrase. I don't understand the logic behind it at all.
Yeah.
Maybe they're going to release a product that's all one of ones.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, but why not come up with a different name for it? I don't understand I think one of one's way overused, and it's goofy to me. So I think it's going to go nowhere, and it's just going to fizzle out. But it's going to get a lot of people hot and bothered. Yeah, Hamburg. Somebody in the chat says one of one used to mean something, not so much now. That's correct.
I don't see the upside. I don't. Even if they won the filing and were granted the trademark, it still makes them look bad.
Are they betting that Panini and Upper Deck and Leaf can't get along enough to support each other to go after it? That they would just say, "Oh well, I guess we're not going to have one of ones anymore,"
right?
And then they could go to uniques, right? Or like something like, I don't know, but I don't want to give them any ideas. But I think maybe Topps is banking that the other three hate each other so much because they've sued each other, and like Panini sued Upper Deck sued Panini and Leaf. They've all round robined each other, and Topps sitting over here like, well, no one sued us. So let's see if we can put this through because they all hate each other, right?
Yeah, there's no way this goes through. It can't.
Yeah, no. So it brings us into something. App Freeze Cards says, I remember in serial number cards meant something, and maybe classic trademark one of one. Well, one of 170,000. Those were his favorite. Yeah, those classics that were like numbered to 1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like this is 64,000 of 8 billion.
Oh, what was that? Top Stars, I think, where it's like 1 out of 97, 99.
Yeah. So so it kind of leads into this next topic. What increases a card's value? Now, this is kind of an all-encompassing topic. Now, when we talk about that, like first of all, I want to talk about, does brand or set matter? So, like when a card is labeled like that has Topps or says Panini or Upper Deck, do one of those have more prestige or increase a card over another? Does one brand have more pull, or is it based on sport?
I would argue that it's definitely based on sport, because while Upper Deck Young Guns may be super popular for that sport, I don't see anyone necessarily rushing out to get the one of the individual baseball license that they have with one player, or with Leaf where they had the 3-player hockey set, or some people still don't do Leaf baseball metal draft, for example. They prefer to stick with the Bowman first auto, understandably.
Yeah, Mike, what do you think? Does that matter? Does the set really carry more prestige, right? Like Prism basketball, or like Steph said, Young Gun hockey cards, or first Bowman.
Yeah, I think it matters by sport, because I still think, as much as some people don't care, I think the logos and the licensing make a difference, and so Topps as a brand is going to carry a higher value in baseball cards than Panini is. And same thing with hockey. Upper Deck is going to carry a higher brand than Leaf and the hockey products they put out, and the same thing on football and basketball. I think there is value that's associated with being able to have the logos on there, and in our exclusive world that we live in now, having Panini and Topps and Upper Deck, I mean, it's going to carry an extra value over unlicensed or unlogoed cards. I think that's fair. I think to some extent, what we're seeing is there are some of the product lines within those companies that do carry more weight than others, based on customer preferences. But we're seeing that even ebb and flow as one rises up, another one comes right on its heels because the first one gets priced out of the, gets so expensive that people are looking for value someplace else. And so I think there is a sense that the brand, both company and product line, does carry more value than others, but it's a ever flowing game within each sport.
Yeah, no, definitely. I just, I feel like sometimes that you talk about it, and somebody in the chat here says that logos matter. I think that's a big part of it. I think that the non-logo stuff gets pushed to the side because it doesn't look the same. And to me, I agree with that. I think that sets off for a lot of value right there, because if you have a card, like I have this George Brett right here, and this is from Donruss from a couple years ago. It just looks like a softball uniform. I mean, it just says Kansas City. There's no team name. It just, I don't know, it looks really basic, and especially like this one here, this Prism card, right? I mean, the no logo on the helmet, it just kind of loses its luster versus having something that where you have the logo and you get to see everything, and you have the team logo because you're able to use that. It just makes a big difference to me when looking at a card.
I mean, far be it from me to say anything to against that, because in my home run collection chase, it's been a whole lot easier to pick up a Panini or older Upper Deck just because they don't have the logos. Now, as long as the memorabilia is authentic, I don't necessarily care.
Yeah.
But it just depends on whether you want to, whether the logos truly matter to you, or whether you're fine and it's acceptable with stats and an artistic rendering.
Yeah. We got a good question here from Firebox Cards Cases. Hypothetical question. Topps loses the license to Panini. Do collectors still flock to Bowman? It depends to me, it depends on what Panini comes out with to be their equivalent of Bowman.
Sure.
So
whether they do a draft product, or naturally they would obviously push to Prism and Optic and etc. That would be interesting to see.
I think you would still have a market there, but I think, like we see on the flip side, it's going to be somewhat muted. I think they'd still sell Bowman. They'd still probably be able to sell Topps, but kind of like we see with Panini and Donruss and some of those other lines that they've got, they still make sales, but they don't hold the same value that the Topps products have.
Sure.
Yeah. And plus, I don't see Topps losing that license. I mean, they've had it since 1952, and I think it's something to do with tradition. So
if anything, I could see that they would co-share it.
I just think they should still be able to trade five. Here's 5 releases. We don't want to make. We'll give you 5 baseball releases. You give us 5 basketball releases. Come on, can we not get together and make this happen, guys? Would that not be the greatest thing to see Topps Chrome basketball or football, or even say, hey, Panini, you can have 8 baseball releases, right?
Give us basketball.
Give us 4 basketball and let us have 4 football.
Yeah, I think that'd be interesting. We talked a little bit about that at the Topps Q&A last summer.
Yeah,
floated that idea out there, and it sounds like it's this mishmash of the manufacturers and their egos, as well as the leagues and the league's desire for simplicity and straightforwardness of only having to deal with one company. And it'll be, I would love for there to be competition again in the marketplace personally. But I think it's going to be a little while till we see that. But while we're on that idea of what's giving a card of value, we talked about brand to brand, but how about within a brand? One of the questions that I got this week that somebody was asking me about was, they seem to be fairly new to the hobby or re-entering the hobby since the 80s and 90s. And now we've got this world where there's serial numbers and parallels and, anywhere from 4 or 5 different versions of a card with varying levels of scarcity up to 30 plus,
Sure.
right? With some of the Prism basketball stuff. And their question to me was, how do I go about valuing these parallel cards? It would seem like a serial number out of 25 should always be worth more than a serial number out of 50 for the same player, or a serial number out of 100, but that isn't necessarily the case, though, as we know, when it comes to the marketplace. And so I was curious on what you guys think about putting a value on serial number cards, and maybe why some are worth more than others, even if they're not as rare.
I think it's on history and color. So like if you look at the first Bowman, like so people prefer the certain colors, like the blues over the greens, even though the green might be a lower numbered than the blue. For whatever reason, it's that blue that's had the history, the color, that has the pop to people's eye sometimes matters. And I think that's a big part of it. And we're so wishy-washy or back and forth in this hobby, like where we're so staunch in our ways, right?
Sure.
But if we like something outside of the rules we've set, then we allow it. Right? So we're like, well, the lower the number, the higher the value, except in this one case with this one release and this one colored parallel, that one's more valuable than the others because that's what we've said. Like, why do Prism silver basketballs usually sell for more when they're not numbered than like a blue or an orange or a green that maybe less printed, but the silver still sell for more?
Right. And that's actually kind of right about where I was going to lead in, where, for example, Chris, where he only collects the Independence Day parallels. Chris Torres, gorgeous cards. Eye appeal for sure. With this year's Donruss release, the pink fireworks, those look amazing. I almost want to get a complete set of the 10 or 15, 20, however many are in the set of that parallel. Normally not in my collection, but they look amazing. When you're touching on colors, some people just like green. That's their favorite color. They only want to collect the green ones. Or for the Canadians there, do you eat the red ones last?
Yeah, that's why I think, when it comes to the value, it sure would be nice if we could just use kind of a straight line multiplier, based on scarcity. But it's so much of our hobby is driven on consumer preference and hobby collectors' preferences that we're never going to get to that situation where you can do a straight line calculation, especially in this world of 25 or 30 different parallels. At some point, it's just got to come
45
down.
Prism parallels.
Right. And then, with Prism parallels, where there's like 10 that aren't numbered, but it's like the baseline fast choice Prism or the green donut circles variation. And then you start actually getting into the numbered stuff.
Yeah. What carries more weight for you guys? Is it photography or design when you're looking at a card too? Now, does that play into it? Like,
I know this is going to sound controversial, but the designs are nice, but it's not the key factor for me. It's the photography and the players and that individual year. Because I kind of use my collecting as a history book. This is what happened that year. And yeah, the designs are nice. And you can definitely tell, like if you go to like 1970s-ish tops, you can see the design choices of what you would just stereotypically associate with the 70s. Same with the 80s. But it's more the photography that sets a set apart from the others.
I'm the same way. I would use the example even here of 2020 Top Series 1. I'm not a huge fan of the design this year with a lot of the player name and all of that stuff going up the side of the card. but there are some fantastic photos in that set.
Definitely.
And that kind of overcomes for me the lack of interest I have in the general design. And the same thing with Stadium Club. I mean, that's known for its photography. It's fantastic, but there's not even really much of a design at all for Stadium Club. You know,
Right.
it's what font do we put the player and the team in, but that's essentially it. It's all about the photograph. And so for me, I will collect those photography based sets well over any of the things like Revolution or some of those other product lines that are all about patterned backgrounds and you barely get a silhouette of the actual player. Yeah, I know some people love that stuff, but for me, it's more about the photo, the action photo, the in-game shot. What else are you capturing in that environment than it is about a background or that type of thing.
Well, yeah, James Hummel says he says both. That's why he's gravitated to Topps now. Great photography and a good design. So that's interesting. I mean, that way you're getting stuff. But again, I think that there needs to be a more consistent effort, especially I think with Topps flagship and then Panini Donruss baseball to look different year over year.
Sure.
Because if you look the last few years like of Donruss, it's really hard to tell in baseball. 13 from 15 and 16 from 19. They all look very similar. And don't get me wrong, I have all the top flagship sets over here. After about 2010, until from 10 to like whenever they went borderless and like what was that, 15, 14? All those blend together. The borderless ones, you're kind of like, okay, is this 18? Is this 17? And then you have to flip it over and look at the stat line to tell the difference. So,
and you really see that in Bowman, especially. And I know we were talking about this pre-show. Hand someone who doesn't know the sport a stack of 12 to 19 Bowman, or I guess next month 2020 Bowman, and tell them to differentiate them. Probably won't be able to do it.
Yeah. Well, I work with two distributors, and I was at one of them who's local yesterday, and they were picking product. They were picking boxes off the shelf to fill an order, and the gal didn't know the difference between just the boxes, the releases themselves, because she's like, there's so many different versions of the same release. There's, HTA, and then there's jumbo, and then there's super jumbo, and going through, and, there was somebody that ended up helping her. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. And then you try to sort this shit. Like,
right.
Yeah, no, I was telling you guys before this show, like I'm stressing out over here sorting my Royals base cards out by Bowman by year. And I finally just gave up and just said, hey, if it says 13, it's 13. I'll figure out if it's Chrome, draft, or regular Bowman. It's mind blowing, guys. Let's get a caller in here. We'll have some. I'll figure something here. We'll do a little bit of a giveaway today. Let's get a caller. Cool. I want somebody to call in. I'll hook you up with some Ultra Pro supplies. I'll put a nice little care package together. They've been really kind to me. I like to pass it on to you. So whoever gets a call in here and hangs out with us tonight, we'll make sure we get you an Ultra Pro package out this next week. But Gary V is back in the hobby. He's talking about the hobby again, and it seems to show up quite a bit. Like there was some right around the National, he was there and throughout, before and throughout and after. He spoke quite a bit about the hobby, and there was kind of a little bit of break. And again, this guy's got his hands in many different fields. So
sure.
The fact is that he's not talking, sports cards all the time makes sense. I mean, we all take breaks from here and then. I mean, some of us more than others, but it's there. But he's been talking up Soto, Acuna, Betts rookie cards, saying that they're undervalued and to go out and get them out. And now we've seen prices on and Bellinger was one, and now we're seeing these prices jump up on these cards. So really, and I know there was somebody that had a 30-minute private conversation with him yesterday, I want to say, and went back and forth. He's been very critical of Gary. It was at Old Town Cards on Twitter, and they went back and forth and talked. But here we go. We have an app, Freeze Cards, hopping in. What's up? How are you going? How's it going today?
Howdy.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey, welcome back.
Yeah. So this is a little off topic than what you guys have been talking about, but I like to think of that. I was an old time collector, I guess, when I was a kid, and I got back into it probably a year and a half ago. But I find it interesting how everything is cyclical, and I'm watching right now with the craze of retail, and this is kind of a basketball thing, but how everybody's talking about buying everything off the shelves immediately or having inside connections to the distributors. And it just really reminds me of being a kid and the starting lineups. Um, and I also wonder what's going to happen to the hobby, say, come next year when it doesn't seem like we have a great rookie class coming up through college basketball to me. And everybody's talking about, the prices of everything going up and up and up. And what's going to happen is, are these companies going to produce so much more next year than they did this year, which was more than the year before? And then all of a sudden, nobody's going to want to buy it because there's no big rookie.
No, that's a great cause. I mean, you see like the number one pick right now, maybe Anthony Edwards at Georgia, but he's not played all that great, and not a lot of people know about him. I mean, Zion was putting on shows, plus he was playing with Cam Reddish last year, so you got to see that. The other top picks aren't currently playing basketball or playing basketball overseas. So we're not seeing them. We're not seeing LaMelo Ball. There's that European dude, James Weissman, who was going to be the number one pick, played one game at Memphis.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you. I think people are getting set up for a big jump in failure in basketball this next year. We're going to talk about these prices in basketball. I mean, it's crazy, and I think you're right there. I think that we're going to have all these people that are going to go and blow their load, and I think we're going to have they're going to make more of basketball next year than they did, like you said. But to me, that's the scary thing.
Right. And it does feel cyclical, because I remember being a kid and having years, like I want to say it was probably the year where you had Von Mercer and some other guys who, like you mentioned, these other guys were great college players, and in the overproduction that year, it crashed the market. I remember being a kid that, everything, going back and looking at now, I have boxes of stuff that they aren't worth the top loaders they're in.
Yeah. Mike, what do you feel?
I think it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I'm a firm believer that ultimately the market will decide, and that means that some people, may feel a little bit get burned a little bit, and others won't. But I know, in some recent articles, I believe even it was an interview that Topps did at their million card rip party. They were being interviewed and talking about the increasing demand, and that they find it. This is my paraphrase of what they said, was that they find it challenging to both meet the current demand that they're seeing while still being responsible with the production levels that are put out there, because they know it's a delicate balance of having a limited enough supply that demand is both met and left, and leaving people wanting more. And so they've been trying to walk that line of getting more supply out there, but at the same time not oversupplying the market as well. They want people to be able to make some money, on the retail side of things, but they also see that people clearing off the shelves and retail at 3x the suggested retail price isn't necessarily a good thing for the hobby either. And so I really think it's going to be interesting that things are hot now. We've got people coming into the market, return to the market, that's helping inflate some of those prices. But yeah, like you said, once we get to that part where we don't have a hot rookie class, where people decide to quit buying wax and seeing some of these players' prices run up 3 or 4 times, their value in the course of a week or two, there's definitely going to be some people that are left buying at the peak. So.
Yeah, and App, we appreciate it. Hit us up on Twitter about the car, or at Hobby Hotline, or send us an email at hobbyhotline@gmail.com with your address and stuff, and I'll get a package out to you from Ultra Pro.
I think he froze.
Yeah, it looks like he froze there.
Yeah, so I'm gonna remove him there.
Sure.
Yeah, so if he give back to us on one of those apps, and I agree with this. I see the O's in the hold there. We're gonna get back to. We'll get you in here in just one sec, but. Yeah, the big thing with this is this year's rookie class is Morant and Williamson in basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And if you open a box and you're paying these crazy prices and you don't get one of those guys, you think your box is trash.
Sure.
But there's other guys in this class that you got to think these guys are 18, 19, 20 years old. It might take them a year or two to prosper. And they're also playing on some really bad teams. And so it might take them a year or two to set their legs in the league and become a better player. And so you just never know. So let's bring in the O. What's up, man? How are you doing today?
Doing pretty good.
Outstanding. So what do you have for us?
So what do you think about, like, in probably, what do you think about Topps entering the blockchain?
I saw that. I haven't looked a lot into it. I know with what Panini did and what they said isn't really true blockchain, and I just don't get it. I don't think it is any added value to me personally. I just think it's just another thing. If you remember, like the digital cards that Panini had, those video cards that they were doing, or you remember what was it, Steph, with the Topps, e-Tops, right? It was a fad for a short period of time, and then it flittered away. I don't know. What do you guys think?
So for me personally, as a collector, I like collecting physical cards. I don't enjoy collecting digital photographs, right? And so I don't have much of an interest in this new blockchain Garbage Pail Kids product that they're putting out. And I think they're using it as a test to see how it goes over. And I think they're using it as a test to learn and see what the market, bears, because even though I don't like it, I'm not arrogant enough to say that nobody else should either. Right. And so if there is a segment of people out there who love that and find value in it, by all means, go for it. And I don't fault Topps for experimenting with it at all. My only disappointment would be if there was just a wholesale shift and everything went digital and there were no more physical cards. But I don't think we're in that situation right now. So by all means, I'm all for innovation and experimentation. So if Topps can figure out how to make that work and make it appealing, and there's a demand out there, go for it. Fill that need.
Correct. And to kind of draw a parallel, people like to actually hold what they own, and to be able to say, hey, I know it's old, I know it has 200,000 miles, but I'd like to sell my old 1999 Dodge Neon. And that's great, but all of these type of programs, they kind of remind me, if you guys, I'm sure you guys will remember the Where's George on the dollar bills, where you'd scan it in and it would upload to a website and say that, well, this was last seen in Washington, D.C., but now it's in Virginia. And then 2 months down the line, you can check it again and see that it's here. But now, Mike has it. Well, Mike scans it in, and now Tim has it. And I kind of like the idea of it, but I just don't see the money side.
Yeah.
Especially starting with Garbage Pail Kids. And I get there's some very dedicated GBK collectors, but should be interesting to see.
Yeah. Hey, I have a question for you. Were you at the National?
Yes, I was at the National last year.
And you were at the Topps Q&A, right?
Yes.
Mike, he sat right next to me.
Oh, yeah?
I recognized the face. Yeah, he sat next to us at the Topps Q&A.
So too, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's up, dude? Yeah, that's awesome, man. Oh, well, thanks for calling in. Do you have anything else for us?
No, not really. Just I didn't know I sat next to you guys at the National last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just put it together.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Welcome to the show.
So what was your thoughts on it?
I just think that unless of what you were saying, that if they just discontinue physical college, which I find pretty much impossible.
Right.
I just see this as a fad. I think going on unless if somehow if they put it the right way, and we're not seeing people spend like $100,000 on Panini, so I don't think we're going to see big money being spent on blockchain cards, and I think that's what's going to kill blockchain cards.
Yeah.
No one's spending money on it.
I can see that.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I appreciate it. Well, hit us up on Twitter about at Hobby Hotline, or email us at hobbyhotline@gmail.com, and we'll get sent out a little Ultra Pro Care package today.
Okay.
All right. Oh, thanks a lot, man. Have a great one. Yeah. So no, it's that's an interesting question, because I just think that we're this hobby. It's like baseball, right? Baseball's really kind of stuck in its ways, and then they try to speed up the game, and all the old curmudgeons kind of say like, "Hey, let's not mess with this game." And I agree, I find myself agreeing more and more with that, but I also want the DH in both leagues. I kind of want it both ways. But
Sure.
with baseball cards or sports cards, the thing is holding it, viewing it, trading with your friends, giving it back and forth. I think the digital stuff to me is, I don't know. I'm just not a huge fan.
And to that, I think that one of the things that will definitely help differentiate between them is what they're offering. If it's just a regular base card or even a numbered card, I don't think that holds as much weight as, say, a 1/1, or not even, because they may not be able to use that, but a relic card even, or a exclusive signature from this person, that person, kind of what like Panini was doing. I'd much rather trade for those than I would just a Garbage Pail Kid card numbered to 199.
Well, John Newman's in chat. He goes, "Yeah, Topps Bunt. Remember that app?"
Yeah.
And then,
and people
were spending money on this. It was like Farmville, guys. If you guys remember
Mhm.
Farmville, right? So here's Kevin Jones. We're gonna bring Kevin in. He's been a big contributor on our show about the cards, and it's great to see him on the Hobby Hotline. What's up, Kevin? How are we doing?
Hey, good morning, everybody. I actually called in last week too, so I don't want to become a regular caller, but this is a really fun concept. I was talking with Mike a little bit last week. I'm good. I kind of wanted to back up to the conversation that you were going to a few minutes back regarding just card prices, investing, speculation, which it feels like we're in quite a speculation market right now. The exponential growth that I've seen in the last 3 to 4 weeks has actually been a little startling. I just did a quick analysis on the 2013 Giannis Prism base in a PSA 10, and then the 2003 Topps LeBron Chrome in a PSA 10. And there's been huge money pouring into the hobby over the last 3 weeks, since probably late February, around about February 20th. I don't know if it's the Kobe Bryant effect, but last year at this time, a Giannis was selling for about $200 in a 10 on March 7th of 2019. It was ticking up slowly over the last year, and then it crossed the $1,000 threshold about 6 weeks ago, and now it's up to $2,500 in about the last 3 weeks. LeBron last year, more so in December of this year, was about $2,000 just 3 months ago for a 10 base in a chrome. And then now it's shot up to $7,000 in the last 3 weeks. It reminds me a lot of the Bitcoin surge back in December of 2017 when Bitcoin shot up to 19,000. Bitcoin's now fluctuates between about 8,000 and 9,000 regularly now, but there's someone or something is pumping up these prices, and I feel like a lot of people are going to be getting their golden parachutes and jumping and selling at the high end of this stuff. Now, I mean, is LeBron going to go to 20K, 100K? Is Giannis going to go to 15,000? I don't know. But to me, it doesn't. This kind of volatility is very scary, and it's causing me actually to pull back, because the things that I look for, even in the last 3 to 4 weeks, which is like vintage 50s, 60s, 70s, more in PSA 6s and 7s. Plus, I get a lot of ungraded stuff too, which I've actually been gravitating towards more lately. it's really it's scary to see these wild, volatile price swings, and I have no doubt that there's huge money coming in from somewhere, from a group. I don't know what it is, but
we saw
it's crazy.
One of the guys that I have a good respect for in the hobby, Porterman on Twitter, my cuddle buddy from the National. He says, he's always one about stocking up and holding on and believes that's a good thing. But he's like, he posed a question today. He's like, is it now time to sell, to cash out a little bit with these prices being where they are? Because if it comes back down to earth, which it has to, because it's like, well, then what's that do to an 86, 87 Jordan, right? We look at Jordan as the greatest of all time, and that card's, what does that do when Giannis and LeBron still are currently playing, and Giannis hasn't even accomplished a tenth of what even LeBron's done, and we're just seeing like, hey, he's the next one. But with these prices, it's saying like he's going to be the greatest of all time, and to me, it's one of those, like, I think it's people need to. I feel like cashing out might be good now, and then going back in a few years, 10 years from now, being able to buy back at a lower price because something happened and all these cards fell back down to earth a little bit. We posted a picture on our show this week. Steph, you remember that was a few hundred Giannis great PSA graded Prism rookie cards. I mean, I tried to count. It was at least 200, and just stashed away and saying, and cornering. And then you see like Gary Vee talking about he opened a safe the other day and it was just stacks of Giannis and a few other guys' rookie cards. And it's like, man, I remember.
It almost feels cyclical in that, 20, 30 years ago, that might have been Brian Taylor. Different sport, mind you, but.
Yeah, or even like, somebody like Larry Johnson, right? And to me, it's kind of crazy. Like we talked about pre-show. Since 2017 to now, when I got back into 12 to 17, collecting was pretty normal. The prices on everything were pretty standard. Now you'd have a few prospects here and there that would pop, but they stood really out. And then from 17, when Judge hit, it felt like, okay, like every 6 months or so, we doubled down on what we were doing 6 months previously as far as spending on cards and box prices. And then in 18, it was like every quarter. Well, 19, it was almost monthly. And now I feel like in 2020, it's like weekly, daily to weekly, that like, oh, hey, I bought a Giannis rookie today, and it was $1,000, and then Friday it's now selling at $2,500. I don't know. Yeah, I think, Kevin, there's got to be some, like, here's all those Giannis's. Someone is scooping it all up, driving that price up, and then what happens though one day when they're less and less available because someone's got 400 Giannis rookies.
I don't really have an opinion on Gary Vee one way or the other, to be honest with you. But I have no doubt that he makes his pronouncements, saying buy this. Well, what he's been doing, I'm suspecting, is that he's, finding perceived value in something. And currently, I know he's targeting Dr. J rookies, Olajuwon rookies, vintage basketball. So I think he's gobbling up everything he can get his hands on, kind of quietly behind the scenes. And then, 6 weeks from now, he's going to be, flashing 20 Dr. J rookies. And we're going to see Dr. J. We're already starting to see it because I've been tracking the card. That's what I think is happening. Now you're going to miss too, but I feel like, I don't know. I'm looking at 2020 tops already. To me, feels like junk wax. Like 2020 base tops, like it. I see it, and I mean, I'm looking. I've watched a few breaks, and to me, it already feels like junk wax. I mean, Yordan Alvarez coming out every pack, all these guys coming out every pack. It's just like, I don't know. I urge people caution on, maxing out credit cards and trying to, turn your dollars into thousands. I believe that these are heavy, multi-million-dollar investors that are coming in and buying this stuff up, and people trying to hang, and maxing out their credit card to get a $7,000 LeBron PSA 10. It's tough. It's really tough. So
yeah,
it's just really curious to watch, and it's kind of bumming me out because, as I said in last week's show, I'm kind of a picky collector. So I'm getting priced out because I will only use cash on hand for purchases. So
yeah, and I think that's super smart, right? As I think I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, but Hamburger Ron said the market will eventually correct itself, and I think he's right. And so I think one of the things that we have to keep in mind is we've not seen this level of new entrants come into the market this quickly with this ease of access to cards in quite a while. And that's what we're seeing with these run-ups in prices, right? And I'm with you that I do the same thing. I only use money that I've generated from selling and profiting from other cards to buy my cards and to fund my hobby. And so I'm with you on that. But what that means for me is that I might need to be patient for a while until we get to this market correction and not chase that money on those high dollar cards. Pivot a little bit to focus on what's not popular right now to fill in some of those gaps, or just accumulate some cash that I would have been spending so that when the market does correct, I can come in and buy up some of these collections and some of these cards, some of these boxes, whatever it might be, when Blowout can't sell them at the astronomical prices that they're asking for, or that people need to sell off stuff to pay those credit card bills if they were being silly and overextending themselves with that type of thing. And so again, I go back to walking that line of, there is more demand for cards now than we've seen in a long time, which is raising some of those prices. But yeah, like it does with anything, the stock market, whatever you want to, there's a point where the exuberance goes too far beyond what is reasonable and things come back down. And so
I'm going to hop off here in a second, let you guys hopefully bring someone else in. But I even noticed, was checking on a Trout PSA 10, and that was kind of hovering around about 1,000 for the last year or so, 1,000 to 1,200. That's shot up to 1,800 now. And again, in just the last, since about February 20th is what I'm noticing, just looking at PSA sales data. So it's I was telling my brother the other day, I'm like, you might want to sell a couple of these Trouts right now because it's hot and it's going crazy. So
ask Steph about selling Mike Trout.
I know. It's probably a hold.
Steph sold me an 11 update set for what at the time was the going rate. And now looking back, it's like that was almost a steal on my part. And I feel a little bad. So I kind of,
Yeah. One last thing, just as a joke, I was looking at, I found an old Larry Fritsch catalog from about 2013, and they had update sets, 2011 update sets in there for $65. So I was like, hey, call up Larry Fritsch, be like, hey, how about selling a couple of those update sets for $65? This was 2013. So
yeah. Steph came across a great jumbo case once. So, hey, Kevin, we appreciate it. Hit us up, and we'll get a little care package out to you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin's awesome. He supports, I think it's just about the cards guys, right? He's supporting all of us and hopping on here. And I love his he's always commenting and his banter, and it's always really good. It comes from a smart place. And so my favorite thing about all of this is I'm glad new people are coming into the hobby, right? Now more products getting opened. And I've been on this for a long time. And it's because it's where I'm rooted in as a kid. Base rookie cards to me are the sexiest thing alive. Topps flagship base rookie cards. When I got in starting to collect back into collecting basketball, I realized what Prism base rookie cards, that's my thing. Steph gave me a little taste of hockey. And so now I'm chasing Young Gun rookie cards because that's the one rookie card you want. I don't collect football anymore. And I collect some quarterback base, Prism rookie cards. But that's about it. And that's just for fun during football season, right before football season, during football season when I'm a little bored. There's not a lot of, baseball coming out. So what's happening is people are spending. So we have 2020 Bowman that's going to come out. And a jumbo box is going to be probably $400 or $500, where in 2015-16, those were $150 boxes all day long. And people are going to spend all this money. They're not going to get Jason Dominguez. They're not going to get Bobby Witt Jr. autographs. And they're going to have all the base and all of the chrome cards that they're going to have to dump, or they're just going to toss aside and leave behind because they were sad. They were pissed off that they didn't get the card that they wanted at that box price. And then I'm going to come in, swoop in, and pick all those up. That's what I want to do. And it's a great opportunity for collectors like us. I feel like we're all about similar, that's what we want to go after to make our collections better. It's all good for us. So they're going to have to dump it at a low price or really quick to make up so they can pay that credit card. That $30 revolving door, it comes pretty quick when you bought that. And also, it's going to get a lot of these fly-by-night collectors out of the hobby, because what they're going to do is they're going to drop a few $1,000s on stuff, not pull what's hot, and get frustrated and leave because they don't understand what's happening. When they could just take that money, that same money, and buy the card directly. They need that high and that chase. And when they don't get it, they're going to leave and go on to the next thing. They're going to go back to the casino. They're going to go back to sports betting. They're going to go back to whatever they were doing before, 6 months before, after they've dropped, a few thousand in the hobby.
Oh yeah. And that's exactly what I did with Bowman Draft this year. The run up was so high. But I found somebody who only wanted autos, and I essentially bought the rest of the case for like $200. And so, a case worth of Bowman Draft chrome, base cards, parallels, inserts for $200. Yeah. All day long.
Yeah, and Brian Bice did that same thing. He and I ended up being beneficiary of it. I have a full draft paper set, and I'm like 5 cards short of a chrome set. And I love it. So to me, it's give and take, and I think we're just gonna have to wait out the market a little bit. And if there's guys you would like to collect now but can't afford, just give it some time. You're going to be able to get it at some point in time. Now, obviously, like Giannis and LeBron and even Zion have jumped the shark. I mean, we have Zion base cards selling for $150 to $200 right now. The guy's played 15, 16 games, and it's been good. It's been good. But look, Greg Oden also played a bunch of games and looked good, right?
Sure.
We've seen this before. It's that steady consistency of being a good player. Jason Tatum was always playing good basketball, and so was Donovan Mitchell. Now Jason Tatum's doing really well. I was buying his Prism cards in this right before the season started and right at the beginning of the season for like $10, give or take on average. They're selling for $50. This is a raw Tatum Prism. They're selling for like $50 now, right? And to me, and like Mitchell, he's selling for like, I bought a Mitchell Prism yesterday at the LCS for $7. And it's because the owner's like, yeah, he just doesn't sell. And I look online and they're going for like 10 or 15. But the guy's playing, and it's like, he hops off and has a good game, and someone's going to pay $25, $30 for that card just because he had a good week. Bradley Beal was starting to sell really well because he was on this hot streak. But he's been an all-star. He's been a decent player, but all of a sudden he has a couple good games, and it's like, let's go after Bradley Beal.
Didn't we remember on the show a guy from the west coast of Africa who had like one huge Supreme poster dunk, and his card shut up?
Oh yeah, the guy for the Pistons, yeah. Oh yeah, it's nuts, and I don't know. And then, so what's going to happen is people aren't going to be able to find my thought here. And we've been talking a lot of basketball because I think in baseball and football's been dead. Football's dead.
Right.
Collecting football is dead. And don't come at me with the stuff that, oh, well, real collector. No, collecting football is dead. Unless you're collecting rookie quarterbacks, football is not valuable. Right. Now you're going to come at me, oh, what's valuable? Like cash money. If you have football cards and you're looking to sell football cards, unless you have rookie quarterback cards or you have wax, Football cards almost have no value, and people just give them to you.
Or vintage.
But that's what happens. Okay, so I just and it is because you look at, and even a superstar player like McCaffrey, right, commands no respect in the hobby versus a quarterback, say like Drew Lock, and Drew Lock hasn't done a quarter of what McCaffrey's done. So anyway, but people aren't going to be able to afford these top level base like Giannis cards, right, or LeBron cards. So what are they going to do? They're going to go down to the next guy. Say that's Anthony Davis. Okay, well, Anthony Davis is now too expensive. I'm going to drop down, and I'm going to go to the next level guy, Jason Tatum. Well, okay, now he's too expensive. And okay, because everybody's trying to fill in that market. Now I'm going to drop down to the next level and the next level and the next level. That's why you've seen base rookie card prices come up, because people couldn't get the autograph, the first Bowman Chrome autographs. They couldn't get the rookie autograph that they wanted. So then what did they do? They went to base cards, where I've been on the whole time. And now they're bringing up the price of that because now I could get a bunch of them at an affordable price. But because I couldn't chase the big thing everybody else was chasing. So that is going to keep happening. So, yeah. And Kevin says McCaffrey's the most explosive player in the league. I agree with you. I think he's amazing. I think Kamara is awesome. You look at when Le'Veon Bell was the top running back in the league. I mean, he was his cards you couldn't sell them for $20. And Doug would be on here. He would agree with me. Running backs, receivers, even after the rookie, they don't sell. They just don't. They're not getting the respect. And in football card collecting is. I don't know. You guys feel differently on this?
Hamburger Ron feels differently about this.
Yeah, I mean it's one card. It's a contender. Cracked Ice McCaffrey, but okay, it's one card. It's one non-quarterback of one card.
I think we're going to continue. I think where some of these other sports go is going to be a good indication for how much legs this resurgence actually has. Like you said, 10s are going to 9s. Will that trickle down to 8s? Well, base cards are starting to come back. Will that, will people start building more sets now? Will we start to see football and hockey gain some resurgence? Will soccer continue to grow? People move into those sports as well as they get priced out of other sports or other products. I think even to some extent, what's going to happen with Big League and opening day in the coming weeks here, and we've seen such a big retail push. Those are heavy retail products. Are we going to see craziness come onto these super low end products? And so, I'm interested to see. I think as those types of things are going to start to show how much legs we really have with these new entrants and how much of a groundswell there really is in building the hobby community.
Yeah, I mean, Cardboard Icon said football long-term does not hold value. Kevin says, unless your last name is Sanders, Brown, Peyton, or Rice, forget about position players in the NFL. Yeah, that they just don't. And there's proof. I mean, and then even second, third year cards of guys no one cares about. You've got to prove me wrong on this. I just we get so excited about football card, and don't get me wrong. But also, too, I think part of the reason is that and Panini has this whole thing on basketball. They've done so well in basketball. They just, I don't believe, have been able to translate it to football.
Right.
I will. The only other thing that I'll chime in on is it all depends on what you're doing. When I'm buying these big lots of base, I have no problem selling Score, Legacy, Prism base. Like I'm selling football base left and right on sport lots. And so it's, I'm not making huge money on that. I'm not talking about $100, $200, $300 cards holding value, but I'm still getting steady sales where I'm buying a card for 2 or 3 cents and selling it for a quarter. So there still is a market there. It all depends on what you're doing, But I do agree that from a high dollar perspective, yeah, there's just not the same value there that we've seen with some of the other sports.
Well, and the other proof in this, look, check this out. So would you go to Walmart or Targets right now, right? I've seen so many pictures on Twitter, and it looks like the toilet paper and the hand sanitizer aisle. It's destroyed, but you know what's left?
Stickers.
Okay, but Contenders retail football. Score. Yeah. I've seen Score football, and that came out like right after the draft, and it's still plentiful on the shelves. I mean, what is it? Absolute. What's the other one? Unparalleled. I mean, there was just Donruss. There was just all it is football that's left on the shelves, and people are cleaning the shelves of Heritage and Series 1 baseball. And anything basketball doesn't even touch the shelves. Right. But football just hanging out like cockroaches. Cockroaches and Twinkies will be left after the zombie apocalypse with football cards, retail football. It's just crazy to me. I mean, guys, any final thoughts before we head out? We've had a fun hour. We had some outstanding calls. I really appreciate everybody that hopped in.
It's great to in chat as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, chat was hot. We had a hobby legend and a guy I completely respect, Ben Aguirre. If you're not following at Cardboard Icons or reading his blog, you're doing something not right. You got to be doing it. He's awesome, and he's a humble dude. He's going to tell you no. We had Ken in the chat, Bean's baseball card blog, outstanding fella, except for he likes West Virginia, and he's from Texas. But hey. Guys, any final thoughts before we head out?
No, I just had a blast like always.
Yeah. So remember, we're live every Saturday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. East Coast.
10 Central.
Yeah, on YouTube, Periscope, Facebook, and hopefully we won't have any issues. And I think I know what it was, and I think it was my fault today, guys. So I apologize for that. Make sure to subscribe and review our show on all platforms. We really appreciate that. And get the name out there. We love to do it. Follow us on Twitter at Hobby Hotlines. You can always follow Mike at the Mike Summer. You can always follow Steph at Junk Wax Twins. Always follow me at Big Shep 79. Make sure you're also checking out the other podcasts. So you have Mike on Wax Pack Hero Sports Card Minutes. We're all about the cards. Make sure you're checking out NASCAR Radio with Val, who is who. If you have a question about NASCAR and or trading cards or any collectibles, he's the man. Val's awesome. We have Drew Herndon from Let Me Get the Potograph. And he's got a couple other shows going on. John Newman from Sports Card Nation. And then Dan and Doug from Mojo Break. And hands down to me, best breakers in the industry. Nicest guys. They get it. Been doing it a decade, right? I mean, so look at the wealth of knowledge. I think Val added up. We have over like 300 years of collecting knowledge. And I think we all come from a slightly different place and point of view, which helps out. So I appreciate it. And Hamburger On, great name, outstanding comments, and going back and forth with us today. I love it. So check us out. We'll be back live next week with some new hosts. We got all these hosts. We're gonna have new faces on. Come and hang out with us and keep listening. And we'll talk to you soon. Have a good one.